Well, for anybody who's dealing with the first come first serve type of scenario, it's the game starter. So that's probably the most important thing, is the fact that we need to be able to take these visitations, which are off the cuff, people just showing up. You don't know how many people are going to show up for one specific inmate. Even to the point where sometimes in LA County and other places where there were fights in the line over who was seeing who. So, in New York State we had big issues with that, just people showing up at the door. But not only family visitation or friend visitation, but even lawyers processing and probation officers processing. And so all of these different people who needed contact, counselors, religious advisors, coming into a facility. And the thing that always has to be remembered is that every time you move someone and process them into the facility, you're escorting an inmate down to visit with them. So that takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, and it's very unregulated in many senses. So I would have to say that scheduling is a key component to making sure you can do that. So when you can move to a scheduler that's going to allow you web-based scheduling options, or smartphone or iPad or Android device, to be able to say, I want to be able to visit and work that scheduler through the jail management system into a software platform that allows you to now regulate that. Not only do you get a very, very much more safer environment, you don't have people outside waiting in the elements, you don't have people fighting in line, and you don't have multiple visitors for one person at one time. So it just brings a lot of extra ease to the facility itself, and the ability to say, hey, this is who comes at these times, and you can start to really segment the times of certain types of visits. I wouldn't say it's hard to staff for, Robert. What I would say is it's hard to keep the staffing level at what it is when on one day you may be overwhelmed and the next day you're not. So you may have an overstaffing at times. You never want to have a negative staffing, but you may have an overstaffing occurring. So if you can start to schedule this stuff out to where, for families and friends, it's from 8 to 10, 2 to 4, and they have to plug into those hours, whatever it is that locally, because this is all home rule. No two facilities are run the same way. So you have to be able to say, these are the times we want to do these certain things, and align it, make sure the public understands it, and then give them the access necessary to do that schedule. But then for your government side, which is the really important side for you also, is to make sure that the lawyers, make sure that those, a detective that wants to come in and talk to an inmate, if a detective just shows up at the door and wants to do an interview with somebody inside your facility, well, guess what? Now you have a problem, because now you have to move an inmate and bring in a police officer into the same facility and hope a trustee doesn't see them meeting if you don't have already some parameters set up to where you can protect the identity of the person being interviewed. When attorneys now leave the courthouse at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and usually went to the jail, instead of having them come to the jail, let them go home and have dinner, but let them do their visits with the inmates later in the evening. So you can actually extend your hours from maybe 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. if you wanted to, depending on the classification of the housing areas that you're dealing with. As an example, yesterday I met with 17 probation directors of different counties in the state of New York and Western New York, and all of them need the connectivity to the jail to be able to talk in and do pre-sentence investigation reports, so that the person that's agreed upon to be able to go on probation, that they meet the criteria necessary. Well, we don't need probation officers walking into jails. We need a lot of people walking into jails to do this when they can sit in their own office and do it by video. But the important thing being that it be a secure network, because we do not need this stuff being hacked into in any way. And secondly, making sure that it's a quality. If you don't have a quality of service, if you just go willy-nilly with some web-based thing because someone says, here, I'll put this on your wall for free and we'll make a lot of money together. Well, what you get is what you get. If you have to move an inmate, you have created a situation. That's the bottom line. Whether it be taking that inmate from housing unit J to visitation, and if they pass somebody from another gang or something in the hallway and a fight breaks out. It's not that happens every day. It doesn't. But the potential that an officer can get hurt, it's not so much about inmate safety at that point as it is officer safety. If it's a physical visit, you then have the contraband issue. You must check to see whether or not anything was passed by that person to the person who's incarcerated. So now you're going through another money procedure, because all of this means money. This is financial. This is a business, and we have to look at it that way. So when we think about these issues, anytime you have to move an inmate, you're moving them at a risk. You don't know what that risk may be, and it could possibly never happen. But if it does, and we have officer safety compromised, we have a major issue. But a lot of this also has to do with the makeup of the plant itself. So you have to look at how old the jail is, what you can bring in for the technology. So sometimes what you have to do in some facilities is you'll have a common area on a floor to where you can put in your video visitation, and the people from the housing units will either walk down to it unescorted or escorted, depending upon the classification. So you can, even in the areas where you don't think you could have this, you can. It's just that you have to find a different way to get the people to the machine. But again, you're not processing people in the front door of the facility. You may have certain areas, like a special housing unit, where those guys that are acting up are going to be put in segregation, and probably the best way to get the service to them is through some wireless connectivity on a cart, or through if you have an Ethernet that you can connect in and roll this thing in front of their cell. It's a lot better than taking them out of the cell to go visit somebody. The more you can do this, the better, and everybody in corrections knows that. You just don't want to be moving special housing unit people around. Also, you have your protective custody area, and do you want to be bringing protective custody people through certain parts of the jail? They're in protective custody for a reason. So, when we start looking at the mobility aspects, this is why wireless inside of correctional facilities is going to become a big thing. The more that the systems are built out and the more technology comes forward and the more affordable it becomes, wireless will be the go-to technology because of the tablets going into the hands of officers. So the shift to video and the shift to online scheduling is an extreme enhancement to any operation of any facility, regardless of the size. I don't care if you get a 150 person jail to a 2,500 person jail or prison. These are the factors that are necessary in order to have good operations. So the shift to video and the shift to online scheduling is an extreme enhancement to any operation of any facility, regardless of the size. I don't care if you get a 150 person jail to a 2,500 person jail or prison. These are the factors that are necessary in order to have good operations. And even if you have visitation and video on site, many places will have video visitation in the building going to the pods, to the housing areas. So those units, when they're not being used, can actually then be used more often. If you know that you've got 10 machines that are empty and nobody's visiting during that hour, but someone else wants to do further visitation, well, by all means, allow them to, but at that time, charge them for it. There's probably, in most jurisdictions, a mandated minimum amount of visitation which cannot be charged for.
Right.
But then when you go a step above that and you say, okay, anything in addition to the mandated minimum, which the standards are what I set here in New York State when I was chairman of the State Commission. So we had minimum bare bottom standards. So what you want to do is make sure you advantage everything beyond that. That's when you start doing on-site visitation that's paid for, website visitation from the home or from a library, family visitation center, wherever it's from. These are key factors, and then making sure that you capitalize upon whatever equipment you've put into this facility, not just for these visitation uses, but for a myriad of other issues that you can do, and capitalizing on that networking you put in so that your own facility staff can have training inside the facility and that you can use it for your own operations. And I think that's the beauty when we talk about video visitation, and that's why it's important for us to be able to really meet with the teams that lead inside the jail management, the sheriff, whoever it may be, that has the oversight of that facility, to really understand the concept of what they're trying to do and listen to them. Make sure we listen to them to understand exactly what they're trying to do, because from one thing that they do, they'll be able to capitalize further off into education projects, into telemedicine, telepsychiatry, counseling, religious education, whatever it may be. On the Cisco Network, you're able to integrate all of the different parts of the county or the state in order to be able to talk into these units seamlessly. I don't care if it's an iPad, an Android, whatever the device may be. The plant has a lot to do with the decision that is made, depending on its age. Just the steel and concrete alone in these places. So we have to keep all that in mind, and that's why it's important for us to be able to really meet with the teams that lead inside the jail management, the sheriff, whoever it may be, that has the oversight of that facility, to really understand the concept of what they're trying to do and listen to them. make sure we listen to them to understand exactly what they're trying to do, because from one thing that they do, they'll be able to capitalize further off into education projects, into telemedicine, telepsychiatry, counseling, religious education, whatever it may be. The important thing being that it be a secure network, because we do not need this stuff being hacked into in any way. And secondly, making sure that it's a quality. If you don't have a quality of service, if you just go willy-nilly with some web-based thing because someone says, here, I'll put this on your wall for free and we'll make a lot of money together. Well, what you get is what you get. And, listening to those probation directors yesterday, 3 of those different counties had that type of web-based video visitation, and each one didn't like it. And they gave the reasons why. And the main thing was the quality of the video. Probation officers, district attorney, anybody who's going to use this, they need to be able to see, just like you're seeing me right now and I see you, they need to be able to see a quality here. They cannot have a jitter. They cannot have delays. You can't do a court hearing from the jail on that type of equipment. You need something like this. Almost everybody in this industry of video visitation for inmates has a scheduler that will interface with the jail management system. Renovo is the only company that chose to spend a lot of money to build to the capabilities of the Cisco network. In doing so, what they did is they chose to say that while everybody else in the industry is doing their video the way they want to do it, they realize that Cisco is already positioned in many sheriff's departments across the United States, many counties across the United States. Many sheriffs don't even know that the county they are in has a piece of equipment in it that they can register Renovo devices to and have immediate interactivity with all of their county agencies. They don't even know it. Nexus can bring them that information. Nexus, as a Cisco partner, knows where the infrastructure is in the state of California and where it isn't. We know where Renovo is and where it isn't. So what we have to do is just bring these counties to the table, the sheriff's departments and the counties, and say, look, you can very seamlessly integrate this stuff to where all that equipment that's already been bought for the county still works. These other video visitation people can't do that. They cannot honestly say that they're standards-based and that they'll hook up to our competitors and us. Okay, they can't say that. So that's why Renovo did what they did. It's what we've done. That's why LA County's going in the direction it is going, and why other counties across the states are now starting to say, I need more than just home web-based visitation. There are at least 5 companies that have entered the video visitation market in the U.S. in the last 5 years, and they're gone. What happened to the equipment sitting in that jail? What's left there? And it's because they don't have the personnel levels, the ability to scale and such. So we had to pick a vendor who we felt could scale, a vendor that had a partner network, just like we do. We've integrated that partner network, and now we have the ability not only to scale, but to service and to be able to bring the best platform possible of software for scheduling. It's pretty simple. Reduce the transport of inmates, reduce the escorting of inmates, reduce the amount of people processing into your facility, increase your security, use a secure network. It's efficiency gains. It's all about efficiency. And it's not just just scheduling. There are other things. There are email portions to this if they want. There are different components that can be put into this. And the most important thing is the ability to go to a cloud-based operation, because if you can go to a cloud-based operation, you can start to do things cheaper. You can bring it in cheaper, and you can have those endpoints not have to be a computer in a box. What they'll turn into is just a box with a video endpoint and everything coming down to it, streamed to it, and you're going to make a lot of decisions on how you want content going to these things. So if there's a cutting edge, the cutting edge is going to be Renovo in the industry. The vendor comes in and says, hey, we'll give you this stuff for free maybe, and we'll put it in, and then we'll share the funds that we make on it. Well, the problem there is these companies can't scale. They do not have the quality of video. They do not have the service possibilities of if there's a need of a breakdown. How long does it take them to get there? Can they do it remotely? If they can't fix it remotely, who's going to be on site? Some of these companies would have to hop on a plane and fly to you. All right? That's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable in the world of corrections and cops and courts. I'm sorry, it's just unacceptable. You have to have a system where if I'm on a video phone, such as this thing right here, I don't even know if I can reach this over, I can't, but a phone that has a video unit on it, a camera, and you're able to talk like we're talking right now, or an iPad, or an iPhone, whatever it is, that seamless integration of quality video like we're talking right now. Again, that presentation yesterday in Rochester, where 3 of the 17 counties say, we use this vendor, but we don't like their video because it has a bad headset, it drops all the time, and it's fuzzy sometimes, it's got that jitter thing going on. We don't do that. We don't play in that game. And if anybody wants to play in that game, we can't do business with them. You know, there's a choice to be made. Is it for the dollar of sharing revenue, or is it for the efficiency gains of the facility itself? And in the end, I have to tell you that my belief is the efficiency gains of a facility itself with the better use of their workforce is more important than any dollars made on family visitation, because to date, there is no proven vendor out there that has made a wonderful hit in home-based video visitation. With the FCC rulings that are coming down, February 11th, we have the effect of the interstate. If interstate comes, video is going to be the only option left. Do you want a video system that is going to work with everything on the planet, or do you want a video system that is limited to working within itself? Home rule will never tell anybody how to do business. Nexus can identify where there's already existing networking they can ride on. We can find the Renovo customers that exist and say, if you upgrade those units, you can do this too. And then when you have the ability to do cross-county interoperability, you get the ability to bridge over to the other jail and do training together. You get the ability to bridge over and be able to have someone from another county visit in from a county jail to your jail, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. The fact is, you can talk to everybody that's on standard space. And the easiest way, if you own an iPhone and you bought an iPhone just to talk to people with an iPhone, why? You want to be able to talk to Android, you have to talk to BlackBerry. That's what we do. We talk to everything.